Amina, my daughter. What happened? Talk to me. Amina, no. He has married another woman.
No.
No, that's not possible. After everything? Music, I carried his pain. I raised his child. I went hungry, so he could eat. I stood beside music, him when the whole world saw him as nothing. Years earlier, before the fine suits, Tund was just a tired young man living in a small rented room in Suralere with his little daughter, Zara. The room had peeling paint. The roof leaked when rain fell. The mattress on the floor was thin. The child, little Zara, was barely 2 years old and cried almost every night. Her mother had left her when she was still a baby. People said the woman could not handle poverty. Others said she ran away with another man. Tund never liked talking about it. He only carried shame in his eyes each time anyone asked. He walked from place to place as a site supervisor, draftsman, and small contractor, chasing building jobs that never stayed long enough to change his life. He had dreams, big dreams. He could draw house plans so beautifully that people would stare. He could explain building ideas with passion.
He had talent.
But talent without money, without connections, and without support had turned him into another struggling man in Lagos. One hot afternoon, Amina met him for the first time. She had gone to deliver food to a neighbor who lived close to Tund's room. She was helping her aunt with a small food business then, carrying coolers under the hot sun to earn a little money. As she passed, she heard a child crying from inside Tund's room. Not normal crying, the kind that came from hunger, discomfort, and tiredness. She paused. Then she knocked gently. Tund opened the door with Zara in one arm and shame all over his face. His singlet was old. Sweat covered his forehead. The baby was restless and pulling at his shirt. Amina looked inside and saw an unfinished packet of cereal on the table, a kettle with no power, and a man who looked like he had not slept in days. "What happened?" she asked softly. Tund tried to smile.
Nothing.
"She's just being stubborn." But Amina knew that was not true. She looked at the child again.
Has she eaten?
Tund said nothing. That silence answered everything. Without another word, she turned back, went to her cooler, opened it, and brought out one takeaway pack of soft rice and stew. She also brought water. "Feed her a little first," she said. Tund looked embarrassed. "No, I can't take yours." "Please," she said gently. "She's a child." That day, Zara stopped crying in Amina's arms. That was the beginning. Amina was not rich. She wasn't even comfortable. She lived with her widowed mother and 2 younger brothers in a modest compound house, where the tap only worked when it wanted to. She sold food with her aunt in the morning and helped to tailor in the evening. Her own life was hard, but somehow she still found space in her heart to care for Zara. At first, it was small things. She would stop by and check on the child. She would help wash little Zara's clothes. She would bring leftover beans or pap for them. She would carry the child when Tund had to rush out for work. Then slowly, without planning it, she became part of their lives. Zara started calling her Auntie Amina. Then one day, Mommy Amina. The name stayed. Tund was grateful. At first, his gratitude was quiet. Then it became warmth. Then it became love. He began walking her home after work. They would talk under the orange evening light, passing women frying akara by the roadside, boys playing football in the street, and buses shouting for passengers. He told her about his dreams. "One day, I will design estates," he said. "Not just one building, whole estates. I know I can do it." Amina would smile. "I believe you." He told her about the pain of raising Zara alone. He told her how ashamed he felt when he couldn't buy milk or pay rent on time. Amina listened. There was something in the way she listened that made him feel less like a failure. For the first time in years, Tund began to hope again. Then love grew, where pain had lived. But it was not loud love. It was not the kind with expensive gifts and social media pictures. It was the kind of love that cooked soup in a black pot and prayed over empty pockets. It was the kind of love that shared one loaf of bread between 3 people and still laughed. When Tund fell sick one rainy season and could not work for 2 weeks, it was Amina who kept the house going. She borrowed money.
She bought drugs.
She fed Zara. She washed his body with warm water when the fever became too much. People in the area talked. Some laughed at her. Some said she was foolish. "Amina, this man has no future," one woman told her. "Why are you suffering for a child that is not your own?" Another said, "Why are you suffering for a child that is not your own?" Amina only smiled weakly and kept moving. She didn't know how to explain it. She loved them, not because life was easy with them, but because her heart had already chosen them. 3 years passed like that. Hard years. Years of unpaid bills. Years of hope mixed with tears. But also years of small happiness. Zara grew into a bright little girl with big eyes and a sweet laugh. She clung to Amina everywhere. At school events, everyone thought Amina was the real mother. Even Tund began saying it openly. "You are the only mother she knows." One evening, after a bad day, when Amina's sewing payment was delayed and Tund lost yet another contract to a man with connections, they sat outside on 2 plastic chairs. Zara came out and stood beside them. Tund stared at them for a long time. Then he stood up, went inside, and came back with a small ring in a velvet box that looked old and reused. Amina's heart stopped. "Tund." He knelt down right there on the dusty ground. He said, "I don't have much. You met me when I was broken. You carried my child like she was yours. You stood by me when I had nothing. I cannot promise you heaven, but I promise that when God lifts me, I will never forget what you did for me. Will you marry me?" Amina burst into tears. Real tears. The kind that come from years of waiting. Tund laughed through his emotion. "Ask your mommy to marry me." Zara clapped. "Say yes. Say yes." Amina laughed and cried at the same time. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will." That night, even in their poor room, Joy felt rich. They called family. They planned a modest wedding for the future whenever money allowed. And from that day, Amina carried a stronger hope inside her. She believed her season of tears was finally ending. She did not know life was just preparing its cruelest lesson. A year after the engagement, everything began to change. Tund got connected to a major property consultant through a former colleague. It started with one meeting, then another, then a chance to present building designs for a luxury development project. The client was a powerful woman named Vanessa Adami. She was elegant, rich, educated, and known in business circles. She had the kind of confidence money gives people. Her perfume entered a room before she did. Her shoes clicked like authority. When she first met Tund, she was impressed by his designs. She said, "You are talented, very talented. I like men who think big." Tund went home floating. Amina was overjoyed. She fasted and prayed. She ironed his shirts neatly. She packed food for meetings. She encouraged him each time fear came. "Go and do your best," she would say. "This may be the door God has opened." And the door truly opened. Vanessa gave him the project. Then more work followed, then advance payments, then introductions to other wealthy clients. Within months, Tund's life changed faster than even he imagined. He moved from borrowing transport fare to driving a second-hand SUV. From begging landlords to renting a better apartment. From worn sandals to polished shoes. From hope to visible success. Amina was proud. She thanked God every day. She believed at last that all those years of suffering had meaning. But money did not only change Tund's pocket. It began to change his heart. At first, the change was small. He became busier. He answered calls outside. He returned home late. He said it was work. Amina believed him. Then he started correcting her speech. One day he looked at her clothes and frowned. "You need to dress better. The people around me now are different." He began buying Zara expensive things, but barely had time to sit with her. He now talked about levels, circles, and exposure. Sometimes he stared at their old compound with irritation, as if the place that once sheltered him had become an insult. Amina noticed, but she still excused him. She told herself, he's under pressure. Success comes with stress. She did not want to believe that the same man who once cried in her lap had started becoming a stranger. Vanessa entered Tund's life more deeply. At first, Amina heard her name only in business conversations. Later, It became constant. Vanessa said this. Vanessa wants that. Vanessa thinks I should. Amina smiled through it, but something in her chest became uneasy. Then one evening, Tun came home and said, "There's a dinner with some investors. You can't come. It's not your kind of setting." The words landed like a slap. Amina repeated quietly, "My kind of setting? My kind of setting?" He sighed, but it was exactly what he meant. Amina said nothing more. Meanwhile, Vanessa was studying him carefully. She saw a man hungry for recognition, a man still carrying old shame, a man who badly wanted to prove he belonged among the rich. And she knew how to feed that hunger. She bought him an expensive watch for closing the deal. She complimented his mind. She laughed at his jokes. She told him he was too refined to remain tied to village suffering. One day she asked casually, "Are you really going to marry that woman?" Tund looked uncomfortable. "What woman?" Vanessa smiled. "The one everyone says raised your child. She seems loyal, but loyalty is not always enough. You are moving into another class now." Tund said nothing, but silence is where poison grows. Vanessa continued, "A man like you needs a wife who can stand beside him in elite places, a woman who matches your future." Those words settled in his heart. The shame he once fought returned in a new form. Now he began seeing Amina through the eyes of status, not love. Her simple wrappers, her quiet speech, her humble background, the very things he once admired now became things he hid from. Yet while his heart was shifting, Amina was still doing what she always did, still praying for him, still helping Zara with homework, still planning the wedding, still believing love was safe. When Tund finally agreed to set a wedding date, Amina cried with gratitude. Her mother danced. Neighbors congratulated her. Even people who once mocked her now smiled and said, "At last, your patience is paid off." The wedding was not meant to be extravagant, just a church blessing, a small reception, and a family celebration. Amina did not ask for much. She only wanted peace. She wanted the home she had already been living in with her heart. She wanted the right to finally be called what she had long been in practice, wife and mother. She chose a modest white gown from a rental shop. Nothing too big, but when she wore it for fitting, Zara spun around her happily. "Mommy, you look like an angel." Amina laughed and kissed her forehead. Tund attended some of the planning, but not fully. He always seemed distracted, always on calls, always rushing. When Amina asked if everything was okay, he would say, "It's just work." But one night before the wedding, Zara came to Amina quietly and said, "Mommy." Daddy shouted on the phone. "With who?" "I don't know." He said, "I can't do both." Amina froze. A strange fear touched her. She asked Tun later, but he brushed it off. Business matter. Amina wanted to push further, but she was tired of looking suspicious. She wanted peace before her wedding, so she swallowed the fear. And fear, when swallowed, becomes sorrow later. The wedding day came bright and beautiful. Women were singing. The makeup artist was dabbing powder on Amina's face. Her friends were helping with her veil. Her mother sat nearby, wiping tears of joy. "You have suffered, my daughter. Today God is giving you honor." Amina smiled and held her hand. Zara wore a little cream dress with small flowers in her hair. She looked excited. "Today you will marry Daddy," she kept saying. The church filled slowly.
Guests sat down.
Tun's seat at the front remained empty. At first, nobody worried. In Lagos, lateness is common. 10 minutes passed, then 20, then 40. Calls to Tund were not connecting. People were whispering. The choir kept singing to cover the tension. Amina's smile began to fade. Her hands turned cold. She kept staring at the church entrance. "He will come," somebody said. "He must be in traffic." But deep inside, something dark was rising in her spirit. Then one of the bridesmaids rushed inside, breathing heavily, phone in hand. Her face had gone pale. "Amina, what is it?" The girl could not speak at first. Finally, she held out the phone. On the screen was a video, live, beautiful hall, luxury decor, champagne glasses, a groom in a designer suit, a bride in diamonds. And there, smiling before cameras, was Tund marrying Vanessa. For 1 second, the whole world stopped. Amina stared at the screen like her brain refused to understand what her eyes were seeing. Then the phone fell from her hand. A sound came out of her chest, not even a scream, just broken pain. The church became silent. Someone gasped. Her mother shouted, "Jesus!" Zara looked confused. "Mommy?" Amina took 1 step backward, then another. Then her knees gave way. She fell to the floor in her white dress. Her veil spread around her like sorrow. Women rushed to hold her, but she could not hear them. She only kept seeing that video. The man she fed, the man she believed, the man whose daughter she raised, the man she gave her youth to, smiling as he married another woman on her wedding day. People were crying. Others were whispering. Some guests quietly slipped out in shame. Zara began crying loudly. "Where is Daddy? Why is Mommy crying?" That question broke everyone completely. Amina could not eat for days. She lay in her mother's room staring at the wall, sometimes silent, sometimes crying without sound, sometimes sleeping and waking in panic. The wedding dress stayed folded in a nylon bag like a burial cloth. Neighbors came pretending to care, but many only wanted the full story. Some blamed Tund. Some blamed Vanessa. Some even blamed Amina. Maybe she was too local. Men change when they see bigger things. That is why we women should not build with a man too much. Each word was salt, but nothing hurt like Zara. The child kept coming to Amina, confused and hurt. "When are we going back home? Why is Daddy not calling? Did I do something bad?" Amina would hold her and cry harder, because no matter how badly Tund betrayed her, Zara was still innocent. That child was still part of her heart. Then 1 week later, the final knife came. Tund sent a short message, not even a call, not even a face-to-face apology, just words. "I'm sorry. Things changed. I think this is best for everyone. Please try to move on." Amina stared at the message until her vision blurred. Best for everyone. She laughed bitterly for the first time since the betrayal. A broken, empty laugh. That was the day something inside her died. Not her kindness, not her heart, but her belief that sacrifice always protects you from betrayal. Tund's new marriage was everywhere online. Pictures, videos, luxury, smiles, Vanessa shining like victory. Tund dressed like he had always belonged there. People praised them as a power couple. Amina stopped using her phone for some time. She could not breathe each time she saw their faces. Meanwhile, life became hard again. Harder than before, because now she had pain and responsibility. Even though Zara was not legally hers, the child kept running back to her. Tund was too busy. Vanessa had no interest in caring for another woman's emotional work. Soon, Zara was spending more time with Amina than with her own father. When she fell sick, it was Amina who stayed at the hospital. Amina who held her close all through the night. Amina began a small food business on her own, selling homemade meals to office workers and market women. It was stressful. She woke before dawn, cooked until sweat soaked her wrapper, delivered food, then returned home tired. But little by little, grace returned to her hands. Customers loved her food. Her honesty attracted people. A woman who owned a supermarket gave her a supply deal. Another introduced her to event catering. Slowly, painfully, Amina began to rise. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because pain had forced out a deeper strength from inside her. She no longer lived to prove anything to Tund. She lived because she had discovered she could survive what should have destroyed her. Tund thought he had won at first. Vanessa gave him luxury, a bigger office, better contacts, a louder life. But peace was not inside that house. Vanessa was not a woman who loved sacrifice. She loved image, control, possession. Once they married, her softness disappeared. She questioned his every move. She spoke down to him in private. She reminded him constantly that her network had made him bigger. Sometimes during arguments, she would say, "Don't forget where I picked you from." Those words stabbed him, because he remembered another woman who had known exactly where he came from and never used it against him. Business also began to shake. A project failed. A legal issue came up with one of Vanessa's investors. Tun's name started appearing in ugly conversations. Friends who used to praise him became distant. His new circle had no loyalty, only usefulness. Then Vanessa discovered some financial mistakes in one of his deals and insulted him openly before others. That day, Tun sat alone in his car and wept. Not because money was gone, but because he finally understood what he had thrown away. Amina had loved him when he was hungry, ashamed, weak, and ordinary. Vanessa loved the version of him that looked expensive. And expensive things stop being special when new things appear. That was when regret entered him like fire. Months later, Tund went looking for Amina. He had heard from someone that her business was doing well. He also heard Zara was happiest whenever she was with her. Part of him came because he missed his daughter's peace. But the deeper truth was this. He missed the kind of love that money could not buy. When he found Amina, she was standing in front of a small catering space, giving instructions to 2 workers loading coolers into a van. She looked simple as always, but something had changed. There was strength in the way she stood, calm in her face, a settled dignity. She was no longer the trembling bride on the church floor. She had stitched herself back together. When she saw him, her face did not fall. She only looked at him quietly. Tund swallowed. Amina. She nodded.
Tund.
For a moment, he had no words. He had imagined tears, anger, maybe shouting. But her calmness humbled him more than any insult could. He looked down. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Amina said nothing. I don't sleep well anymore. I keep remembering everything. How you stood by me, how you raised Zara, how you believed in me. I was foolish. I was proud. I let money blind me. Sighs. Amina's eyes became wet, but her voice stayed steady. You did not let money blind you, Tund. You chose blindness. He bowed his head.
I'm sorry.
She smiled sadly. Sorry is a small word for what you did. He nodded slowly.
I know.
He looked at her again. Can you ever forgive me? Amina was silent for a long time. Then she said, I forgave you before you came here. Not because what you did was small, but because I did not want to carry hatred forever. Hope flashed in his eyes. But then she continued. Forgiveness does not mean I'm coming back. His face fell. Amina stepped closer, voice low and clear. I loved you when you had nothing. I protected your child, like it was mine. I carried your shame as if it was my own. I wore patience like cloth. And on the day you were supposed to honor me, you destroyed me in front of the world. That part of me that loved you the old way died on that church floor. Tund began to cry. Real tears. The kind that come too late. I'm regretting it every day. I know. That is your punishment. As months passed, Tund's marriage to Vanessa collapsed fully. There were more scandals, more disrespect, more business losses. Eventually, Vanessa separated her finances from his and pushed him out of major decisions. Their love, if it had ever been love, dried up completely. People who once admired their wedding now whispered about their problems. The same society that praised his rise now mocked his fall. When you betray what is pure, noise will celebrate you for a moment, but truth waits. And when truth rises, it does not need to shout. It simply remains. Amina's business continued growing. She became known for event meals and packaged food supplies. She moved her mother into a better home. She paid her brother's school fees. Most importantly, she built a life where she no longer had to beg love to stay. Zara remained close to her. The child, now older and wiser, understood more than adults thought she did. One day, she asked Tund quietly, Why did you hurt Mommy, Amina? Tund could not answer. Because some questions have no defense, only shame. One evening, after a successful event job, Amina sat outside her new apartment balcony with a cup of tea. The sky was turning orange. Below, children were laughing. Life sounded normal, peaceful. Her mother came and sat beside her. You have been through a lot, the older woman said softly. Amina smiled. Yes. Do you still feel the pain? Amina looked at the sky. Sometimes, she admitted, but it no longer controls me. Her mother nodded proudly. You are stronger than I knew. Amina did not answer immediately. Then she said, I used to think being chosen by a man was the reward. Now I know peace is the reward. Dignity is the reward. Surviving is the reward. Her mother held her hand. And in that quiet evening, Amina finally understood something powerful. Tund did not destroy her future. He only removed himself from it. The story people thought was her ending had become her beginning. As for Tund, he continued living with regrets. Because some punishments are not prison. Some punishments are memory. Memory of the woman who stood beside you in darkness. And the knowledge that when light came, you threw her away. Not every person who suffers with you deserves to suffer because of you. Poverty does not test love alone. Success tests character. A person who truly loves you in your lowest season is rare. If you betray such a person, the world may clap for you for a while, but your heart will remember the truth long after the noise has ended. And sometimes karma is not death. Sometimes karma is watching the person you broke become whole without you.